A proxy war is when powerful nations avoid direct conflict by supporting other groups or countries to fight on their behalf. Imagine two chess masters moving pieces, except the pieces are real nations, militias, or rebel groups. The major powers provide money, weapons, and training, letting others do the fighting for their interests. This keeps their own soldiers out of harm's way and reduces the risk of a catastrophic direct war. Proxy wars are fought on foreign soil, with local fighters paying the highest price. The big powers can deny involvement, maintaining plausible deniability even when their support is obvious. This indirect approach lets them compete for influence and resources without open warfare. Smaller groups may gain support for their own causes, but often become pawns in a larger global struggle. The local conflict becomes a stage for international rivalry, with devastating consequences for those caught in the middle. Proxy wars are now a common feature of global politics. They allow powerful states to project influence and test rivals without direct confrontation. For the smaller players, foreign backing can be a lifeline or a trap. The true cost is often paid by civilians and local communities. Proxy wars are about power, influence, and control, played out far from the capitals of the nations pulling the strings. Understanding this dynamic is key to making sense of many modern conflicts. Major powers choose proxy wars to avoid the risks of direct confrontation, especially in a nuclear age. Supporting local allies lets them challenge rivals without risking a global war. It's cheaper and less politically costly than sending their own troops. Proxy wars shift the human and financial burden onto others. Plausible deniability allows nations to influence events while avoiding international backlash. If things go wrong, they can quietly withdraw support. Local fighters bring knowledge of the terrain and motivation, making them more effective than foreign armies. Backing local groups also avoids the stigma of occupation. Proxy warfare is a flexible, low-risk way for major powers to pursue their interests. It's a strategy built on distance, physical, political, and moral. The result: powerful nations shape conflicts from afar, while others pay the price. This is why proxy wars remain a favored tool in international competition. The Cold War turned the world into a chessboard of proxy wars. The US and Soviet Union, both nuclear-armed, avoided direct battle but clashed through local conflicts. In Korea, North and South fought with backing from the Soviets, China, and the US. A brutal proxy war that left the peninsula divided. Vietnam saw the US support the South, while the North received aid from the Soviets and China. The war devastated Vietnam and exposed the limits of direct intervention. In Afghanistan, the US armed the Mujahideen to bleed the Soviet Union, helping end Soviet influence but sowing seeds for future instability. These proxy wars allowed superpowers to test each other's resolve without risking nuclear war. Local populations bore the brunt of the violence and destruction. The Cold War's shadowy battles shaped global politics for decades. Proxy wars became the preferred battleground for ideological and strategic competition. The legacy of these conflicts still echoes today. The lesson: indirect wars can be just as destructive as direct ones, and the human cost is always highest for those on the ground. Proxy wars are tools for achieving strategic goals, especially control over resources and influence. Oil-rich regions, for example, often become proxy battlegrounds as powers vie for energy security. Supporting local allies helps secure access to vital commodities and trade routes. Expanding influence is another motive. Backing a faction can install friendly governments and military bases. Sometimes proxy wars are used to weaken or distract rivals by fueling unrest within their borders. These strategies are interconnected. Economic power enables political influence, and military presence protects both. Proxy wars let nations pursue multiple objectives at once, all while staying out of direct combat. The chaos on the ground often masks the calculated interests driving the conflict. For major powers, it's a way to shape the world order from a distance. For those caught in the crossfire, the stakes are survival. While powerful nations strategize, civilians in conflict zones pay the real price of proxy wars. Foreign support prolongs and intensifies violence, turning local disputes into drawn-out disasters. Homes, schools, and hospitals are destroyed. Generations grow up amid chaos. Millions are displaced, creating refugee crises that ripple across borders. Economies collapse, and basic services vanish. leaving people in poverty and fear. Weapons and training often end up with extremist groups, fueling future threats. Yesterday's allies can become tomorrow's enemies, as seen in Afghanistan. Proxy wars create instability that spreads far beyond the battlefield. Understanding these conflicts is crucial. They're not distant problems, but global ones. They fuel terrorism, migration, and insecurity worldwide. As citizens, we must question our government's roles in these hidden wars. Only by recognizing the true cost can we push for accountability and peace. The world's chess games have real, lasting consequences for millions.